business leaders have a huge opportunity to contribute back to the church because of the expertise, the things that they do all day long. They could actually elevate and bring greater leadership to the church if the church would give them the opportunities to serve that way.
I often say to pastors when I have the opportunity, your church is not inside these four walls. Your church is out there. And so if churches and parachurch ministries can teach, preach, equip, motivate marketplace Christians and others who go to secular places of work, there's the church in action. And so if the workplace is going to mean to the gospel this century what the medical profession meant to the gospel last century, as Billy Graham said, the opportunity for us and the responsibility for us marketplace individuals is phenomenal.
When I came out of the marketplace and went into a church environment, it was suggested that I help with the parking cars. Now, there's nothing wrong with that, but it wasn't the best use of my talents and abilities. So I think the challenge for the church is really what opportunities are there to plug into the church environment using the skills that you presently have.
Often when the church calls Christians together to pray, it's to pray for the church's programs. And so what will be really great is when we call Christians together to pray for various industry issues that are being faced by people in the church.
Pastor, when you preach and you're going to exegete Scripture and you're looking out at the congregation, these are people that are in the marketplace. These are people that work. These are nurses that have jobs sometimes at night, work very, very hard. This is a mother that may be raising children, homeschooling kids or whatever. People working, they're stressed out in their church. These are people.
95% opportunity in the church where 95% of the congregation are not paid by church ministry. They're usually paid by corporation, universities, institute, or government agencies, or even the homemakers, right? That there are 95% of these congregations really need the church to pay attention to them, to disciple them, to care and feed them on how they can really take Jesus to work. How can they make their Christian faith real?
We marketplace types spend as much as 2/3 of our waking hours at work, arguably some 30% or so in the community, and maybe 5% of our time with the church. But teaching in churches is almost exactly in the opposite order. So part of what we need to do is to educate everybody, ourselves included, but pastors, to recognize where the people sitting in their pews and in their chairs are going to be on Monday morning. They're going to be in the factory and in the office and in the classroom and in the home. That's the church being mobilized to go out. And so we need to educate people and address that.
In terms of what the church can do, I think it's recognizing that the workplace is a ministry field. I mean, it's a mission field. And then how are leaders in the workplace really being equipped? I mean, what are the things that they wrestle with? What are some of the issues? Providing opportunities for community.
I really encourage the church leadership to embrace and to really be fully integrated into this faith and work movement, not just a moment and having events and Sunday school from time to time, but truly a movement to help mobilize the working force, because this is the largest mission field and it's also the largest mission team that we can send and equip them.
If people in the marketplace, i.e. professional life or any kind of work life, if they think it's the church's job to kind of be the moral compass for society and expect pastors to speak out against moral problems, shame on us, because should the pastors speak, thus saith the Lord? Absolutely. Should they speak, thus saith the Lord by themselves? Absolutely not. The attorney needs to show up. The lawyer, the medical person needs to show up. Everybody who's a believer has a responsibility to weigh in on what's going on in society. It's not the church's responsibility.
I think the church has really been good in addressing people within the church that are in a place of brokenness. I think, for example, how many churches have a Celebrate Recovery ministry? And so they're bringing people in and they're ministering to them and they're nurturing. But as a church, I don't know that we do as good a job in helping those that are being successful or have an opportunity to be successful and flourish in the workplace.
The church needs to recognize that, quote, ministry is not just in the building or in the fellowship, but it takes place out somewhere else. They also have to be very tolerant of people who have jobs that demand 50 and 60 hours, and those people still have a family, and minister to their health and their well-being. A large part of it is the pastor, the staff, having a vision that they are preparing people for the gospel out there, not in here.
Business leaders are going through a season of success in their business calling. And then there's always this point in time where they make a decision and they say, all right, is there something else that I want to do with my life? Do I want to move on? And as they begin to face more of their own mortality, they're saying, all right, what am I doing that may be more directly significant for the kingdom? And I think churches miss that inflection point often in the lives of men and women who serve in the workplace within the congregation.
Christ builds the church, and our job is to make disciples. And so I think that the role of the church is to equip us to make disciples. Now, if we're going to make disciples of all nations, which is what Christ has called us to do, then you can't really disciple people from a national level if you're not actually discipling people in industries. You're not actually looking at key industries and saying, how are we going to disciple people in that industry?